There are red things. There's spinny thing. Oh, hey, it does say live. There's still no spinny thing, but hey, what's up, wrestling fans? Once again, I'm amazed by technology and red flashy things. What's happening, Kevin?
Two Bros Wrestling Show on the air. Tad bit early tonight because we don't want to go head to head with NXT's Great American Bash. There's some interesting things on the card tonight. So if you are watching this show as it airs instead of on demand, thank you for pre-gaming with us instead of the pre-show of NXT, which I'm sure, as most pre-shows go here lately, there will not be any matches on the pre-show. So you're not missing anything. What you are here for is to hear these two old marks give you everything you need to know about SummerSlam, which is next weekend.
That's totally what we should have called this show. These two old marks.
These two old marks.
We should have totally called
it's probably a little too on the nose. And hey, before we get any further into this, because as I mentioned tonight, our main event topic is SummerSlam, but I would want to go back to next week's or last week's show.
We're time traveling
before we get started. Well, I maybe should have done this off the air, Doug, but just wanted to let you know that the check from Tony Khan came in, and it's a little weird this week because it seems that it's around the same amount as it normally is, except there's apparently a bonus for you burying Cody Rhodes last week in a way that Tony's not allowed to do himself. But it looks like he might have actually taken something out for your also burying the CM Collision show, which apparently Tony did not like. So it kind of evens out.
So it balanced out. Yeah. Well, I'm all about balance, Kevin, if anything. How long have you known? But if nothing, I'm about balance.
If you didn't watch last week's show, I highly recommend it because Doug just buries everybody. Doug just goes rogue. You got to see this.
I went into business for myself. I think it's the first time in however long we've been doing this show that we were not lockstep on most things.
That is
and
true.
That was good, and that was very good. It was interesting.
So let's see if that streak continues when we start talking SummerSlam winners and losers tonight. And fans, as you watch, let us know which of the two you actually agree with, because we might be disagreeing, and you're going to have to be the deciding vote as to who you think are going to win these matches. Again, we're getting into all of that, but before we do, we got a little bit of news.
Ooh, news.
And our opening bell.
There it is. There it is.
All right. Also, a follow-up to last week when we reported that WWE was very interested in AEW star Rush, as Rush's contract was coming to an end. But this week, we find out that Rush has ended that speculation by announcing he had re-signed with Tony Khan's promotion. No word on the size of the contract, but as far as the length, it's believed that it is more than the one-year deal that Rush was currently on, as AEW is trying to lock up wrestlers with multi-year deals for obvious reasons. This being one that WWE now is interested in AEW talent. That's what we reported last week, is that WWE had feelers out for Rush, but we knew that the contract on the table for Rush was sizable enough that WWE knew that they were going to have a hard time signing him away, which is apparently what happened. So maybe the LFI and Rush will, as Doug would say, get their push.
It's time for Rush to get that push. I also heard that Rush really didn't want me, burying him on our show. So he decided to stay with AEW.
He was considering jumping the fence. He watched last week's broadcast, like, oh, man, I don't want any of that.
I don't want that Cody Rhodes treatment.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Doug, let's talk AEW again. How do you say
let's
for this
do
next story?
Absolutely.
Another one. Big moment for Adam Page was apparently cut from the recent Blood and Guts episode of AEW Dynamite due to time. We talked last week about how I complained a bit that I had to actually go on YouTube to see the end of the match. Well, it wasn't just my DVR cutting me short. Apparently, the show went longer than they had anticipated, and according to Sports Illustrated, perhaps even ran over the TV time allotted to them by TBS. And because of this, a quote-unquote big moment spot that was supposed to include Adam Page was cut from the Blood and Guts match. The match itself was originally produced to be about 10 minutes, to end about 10 minutes before Dynamite actually went off the air. So they went not just a little long, they went more than 10 minutes long. So in other words, if anyone has read about the post-Dynamite angle where the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club made peace, as well as that in-ring promo by Kenny Omega. Apparently, those were originally intended for broadcast.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, instead, those obviously played out in front of the crowd, and no word on what the angle for Hangman was supposed to be, as that did not end up happening for the live audience, nor obviously us watching at home. So who knows? They might save that for down the road, but apparently something big involving Hangman got put to the wayside.
Interesting. Is Hangman going to Collision? Is he challenging CM Punk for what's in the red bag? What's in the bag, Kevin? What's in the bag?
You may have also seen this one, Doug, but I'm mentioning Punk there. Supposedly Punk had requested, put in a request to be part of Blood and Guts, which apparently denied.
On both sides, from what I've read, Blackpool didn't want him, and the Elite didn't. Also, of course, did not want him involved.
You stay on Saturdays.
Yep.
Buff Bagwell is in the news. Probably a name that you weren't expecting to hear tonight, but the former WCW star took to social media to clarify reports that he had recently been in jail earlier this month for DUI.
Buff. Buff.
Bagwell clarified he did spend time in jail for DUI, but that it was from an offense that was years ago and not something that was recent. So he just has served his time. Bagwell wanted to make sure everyone knew that he apparently has been living with Diamond Dallas Page, and that he recently, that Bagwell celebrated 11 months of sobriety. So here's hoping that he can turn his life around. Diamond Dallas Page certainly has a track record of doing the work to get these guys straight. So you got to admire what he's doing with his post-wrestling time.
Absolutely. That house is like a sobriety house for, older wrestlers. That's good to hear. Good for Buff.
And he has had success with some of the hardest cases in modern wrestling history, as far as those that were seemingly unredeemable. Diamond has found a way. So
resurrecting Jake, taking care of Scott Hall. Come on, man.
Yeah, and we both thought that those guys would be something we would be talking about here as a set into our news segment, and instead, we they got second leases on life thanks to DDP. So good job.
And that yoga, boom.
And this week's AEW Dynamite had a former WWE star backstage. Scott Garland, better known to wrestling fans as Scotty 2 Hotty, reportedly worked the Dynamite tapings as a coach/producer. Word is that Scotty is having a tryout for a permanent role, and that he will be backstage with the company for the next few weeks as part of this tryout. So good luck to Scotty. Hope it goes well. Tony seems to have plenty of money to hand out, so hopefully he gets him some.
That's good. Hey, did you hear that Orange Cassidy's also doing some producer coaching stuff, especially on Collision? And he's done some matches that have been very favorable, looked on very favorable. So it looks like our, what is he? He's the intergalactic ICB champion, or what is he? International?
They changed the name of that title. It's the international title now. Yes.
Okay.
He's working on maybe a transition into being a backstage role.
And I think that's good to see, like a fairly younger guy going ahead and looking ahead to the future and saying, I can move into this and, not take severe bumps and learning from the mistakes. No, I shouldn't call them mistakes. Some of the veterans, did the time and their bodies are worn down for it. But, somebody actually looking ahead at their future and going, I'm going to transition into this sooner rather than later. So I thought that was interesting.
It is. I didn't know that. What I did recently find out about Orange Cassidy that I did not know. Did you know he was an architect?
No.
He actually graduated with with a degree in architecture. So I guess if he transitions into a backstage role, the architecture career will have to be put on hold for a little while longer. But yeah, dude is an architect.
So he's not doing like the Britt Baker thing, right? Where he is an architect through the week and then does the wrestling and then goes like an architect. Okay.
No. And it's not a gimmick. He's truly an architect. So that is hilarious, I found. But
how could you really work that as a gimmick? That'd be interesting to try. The architect. Wait a minute. That's Rollins, isn't it? The architect. Wait a minute.
As a nickname, yes. As a profession,
not so much.
Go back 25 years, and Vince McMahon would have put that on air.
Absolutely.
I'll end with WWE news, and that is this evening. Actually, if you are watching us live, you have still time to watch this if you would prefer over NXT, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but ABC is broadcasting here at the top of the hour a Celebrity Family Feud, which is a WWE edition. But battle between 5 men and women, the 2 teams competing to see whose charity will receive the donations. The show was taped back in April, and appearing on the men's side, we have Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, and the New Day's Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E. Taking on the women, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Bayley, Liv Morgan, and Alexa Bliss. Pre-pregnant Alexa Bliss. So,
did you say pretty or pre?
I said pre-pregnant.
Okay.
Alexa Bliss is very pretty, so I'm not going to argue that point at all.
Okay. I mean, I think either one works, you know.
So when you're done with us, you can go tune in over there. Although I do believe that NXT's Great American Bash is probably going to be more to your liking. That's what I'll be watching. And what we both will be watching, Doug, next week is SummerSlam. It's the biggest party of the summer.
Biggest party of the summer.
Or so they tell us.
That's that's the catch line. The catch line, that's not a thing. It's the catchphrase, right? Or
it's
is it
the catchphrase?
Is it the catchphrase or the tagline? Maybe that's where I called it the catch line. It's the catch line now.
Catch the tag phrase.
Catch the tag phrase. I like that. Catch the tag phrase.
We have a pretty stacked card. There's at the time of our taping, we have 7 matches that are official, with a few very likely possibilities being added. Doug, I imagine that with a card of 7, I imagine only maybe one more of these 2 that I'm about to mention as possibilities get added. I can't see a 9-match card. I know that Triple H has made it fairly clear that he prefers shorter cards and longer matches. And so I'm not saying that SummerSlam won't go 4 hours, but 7-8 matches will take you 4 hours if you give them a lot of time. I don't know that there'll be too many more things added that we're not about to talk about.
I know. This will get a ding on the check, and we may drop a 0 for this, but Tony Khan could really learn a thing or two from Triple H about that. You know, Tony goes longer matches, longer card. 58 matches on the card, all at least half of them are 60-minute Iron Man matches.
I mean, when everything is epic, then nothing is epic.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Gotta have some ebb and flows to these shows. Doug, 2 possibilities I'd like to talk about first. And one I think is more likely than the other, though both of these, maybe something's a pre-show. We're obviously heading down this path for these matches, whether or not they take place by SummerSlam. But we're heading for Trish versus Becky Lynch. Collision. No,
not on Collision.
Not trademark. I'd say this is the most likely one just because it has that dream match aspect of a returning Hall of Famer against a current legend in a match that you didn't think you'd see. That seems more SummerSlam than saving it for something else. So I'd say that now that Becky has at least temporarily vanquished Zoe Starks, that the only thing left is Trish versus Becky at SummerSlam.
Yep. Yeah, I can totally see that.
One?
I totally see it. What's your other one? What are you thinking?
So the other one is KO and Sammy defending the tag titles against the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. With KO legit being, or at least reportedly legit being injured.
Oh, I hadn't heard that he had been injured.
Yeah, that whole thing, they worked an angle into it really quickly, but I think I broke something, unless things have changed, and but that's apparently a legit injury, and there's some uncertainty about KO. So I don't see that happening now.
It's had it not been for the injury, I just couldn't see them keeping an act as popular as Sammy and KO off of the biggest show, one of the biggest pay-per-views they have all year. However, if an injury has occurred, then that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I say then we definitely get the Trish Becky
Yeah,
ad.
I agree.
If that is the case, who goes over in that one to you?
I'm going to say I think the man goes over. Yeah, I really do. I think the man goes over and they put it down and move on to something new with maybe Trish, cashes out at that point and moves on to, show up maybe Royal Rumble or something like that next year, maybe working towards WrestleMania. But I think Becky Lynch goes over and Trish goes away for a while.
So we tease dissension, but we're not going to get it on this one. I mean, Trish is a part-timer at best. I mean, she's been around actually a little longer than I thought. Obviously, this whole thing is really geared on getting Zoe Starks over, which I'm not sure has happened, but that I think is the intention. So big event, might have been in the contract all along. Trish, show up right before Mania. Let's work through SummerSlam. I don't see her continuing on a regular basis with the company, which means Becky's got to be winning here and moving on to something that a full-time wrestler like Becky would be able to sink her teeth into. So we're in agreement on that.
Oh, here we go. We're back to this.
We're back to this.
We're back.
Let's talk the card proper. We got 7 matches here that we know are happening.
Let me grab my phone. Where do you want to start here?
Let's start with these. I don't even know if it's fair at this point to call it a celebrity match, but he is a part-timer at best, even though he's under contract. We have Logan Paul against the one and only Ricochet.
If this were another like celebrity, especially like a YouTube celebrity other than Logan Paul, I would be like, come on, what are they doing to Ricochet? This is a waste of this guy. But this goes a long way to getting Ricochet over. It brings more eyes to WWE every time Logan Paul shows up. So I think it's really great for Ricochet. And really, I think these guys are going to go at it, and it's going to be a great match.
Was it the Royal Rumble that the two did the?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is a taste of what these two can pull off with athleticism that other guys simply don't have. And that was with a bunch of traffic in the way. If they have an entire match to plan this stuff out, I agree with you that this could be a very early. I think it'll happen early in the card.
Yeah.
When you look at some of these other contests, but I also believe it has a chance to steal the card.
I do too. And WWE's quality with celebrities Bad Bunny, Logan Paul. We ain't seeing no Drew Carey's in the ring anymore. Pat McAfee. McAfee shut me up about him when So
at this point, it's a surprise if Logan Paul doesn't deliver in what he's given, and he is a natural heel. I mean,
absolutely.
There's nothing really likable about him at all. Ricochet has never quite got his due on the main roster as a singles wrestler. When was the last time that Ricochet had a significant singles contest?
I'm thinking that was when, I don't know about pay-per-views, but I'm thinking he, maybe when he was Prince Puma in, oh gosh, what was the Lucha Underground was the last time Ricochet got a really good push.
I mean, on the main roster, tag team, it's been a while since he's had a significant singles contest. I think he'll make the most of it. What I don't think is that he'll win.
Yeah. I agree.
Agreement again. I mean, I just at this point I can't bet against Logan Paul because there is, to your point, extra eyeballs when he takes to the ring. So eventually you're going to have to pay that off in making his pinfall loss be something special. And no offense against Ricochet, who will benefit from this exposure. It's not going to be Ricochet who gets that pinfall on Logan Paul. That's being saved for maybe a Mania or a different time.
That's what I was going to say. It's saved for WrestleMania 40 when we get Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny. Yes. Yes.
Pat McAfee is special referee.
Perfect. Yes.
Actually,
we're calling it right now.
I think they both would be down for that. The fans actually eat up Bad Bunny and hate Logan Paul, so I think that would actually get a lot of heat on it.
and I'm pretty sure there's still legit heat between those two dudes. So it writes itself.
Let's sign it up. But for now, Logan Paul goes
let's
on,
do
right?
it. Yep. Logan Paul goes over Ricochet, but Ricochet looks great in the loss.
Doug, let's talk another that isn't with any title implications. And this is someone who I mentioned last week as being sort of a tweener for me when I was talking about who's valued,
Okay,
either overvalued or undervalued.
right.
Talk about people who haven't had a significant singles match in a while. This arguably is her first significant singles match in quite some time, as Ronda Rousey takes on her former teammate, Shayna Baszler. It was a bit confusing to me the way they got here. The turn, while shocking, sort of came out of nowhere. They had just put those tag titles on Rousey and Baszler, and the two of them together as legit mixed martial arts,
Right,
UFC combat fighters. I liked the thought of them. It's like, okay, if Ronda wants to do her tag team thing, this is a perfect setup.
Sure,
I don't think they followed that line long enough. What do you think about this feud? What do you think about this match? And who do you think is going to win?
So, I think it'll be a fun match. Because Ronda, when Ronda's invested in it, almost like Lesnar, actually, when Ronda's invested, it's great. It really is. And Baszler can go. I really loved, what was it, the Elimination Chamber, where she was basically the Brock Lesnar, and then just kind of like just kind of fizzled out there, and then there was no push after that. But
always going to be a push from here on out.
It really is. We might as well trademark that and get some shirts made. Push, but push them to the moon. But yeah, I think it'll be great match wise. I'm not really invested in it though, because in my mind, what's going to happen is that Ronda is about to check out, kind of like I think Trish is. Trish will cash out for a while. I think Ronda's about to do the same thing. So Shayna will go over and we'll move on.
Darn you. I thought, the obvious here that Rousey's the name, so she's going to win. But no, I'm agreeing with you. I thought that you would go that way, but no, I do believe that there was a reason why I had her pegged last week as somewhere between over and undervalued, because I just don't feel like she's feeling it herself. However, what she will feel is putting a friend over, and a legit competitor like Shayna Baszler would benefit from that Ronda Rousey rub as she takes her hiatus, which I'm also anticipating will happen. So I will be surprised if Rousey wins. If you would have asked me this 6 months ago, there would have been no way in the world I would have picked Shayna Baszler over Ronda Rousey. But on this stage, and with the way that Ronda's been booked, I wouldn't be surprised if the demise of their tag team was hastened a little bit by Ronda backstage, indicating that she was ready to go home for a while.
Exactly. And, to your point, it's a big rub for Shayna to slay a demon like Ronda. So
I also think that she would have this might be one of the better matches Ronda's had in a while, not just because I think this might mean something to her to help a friend. I think that because of the two women having such similar styles, they can do a sort of work shoot style match where they keep it on the mat and they do some things that maybe some of the other ladies couldn't do with Ronda Rousey that might make Ronda look better than she has in some time, which, to be honest, has been a little rough lately.
Yeah. But again, I think, because she's in there with a friend, I think she will go above to put on and put over her friend too. So
far, all in agreement.
Lockstep. Surely we'll disagree with something. Let me pull up my phone here. What do we got next, Kevin? Where do you want to go? Let's see.
Next, I want to go to a match that, much like Ricochet and Logan Paul that we said earlier, could be the sleeper match that steals the show. I think this match could steal the show. Intercontinental Champion Gunther taking on Drew McIntyre.
Oh, now this one is a hard one. This one really is, because, man,
there's a lot of history.
There's a lot of history. Yes.
There was that Clash of the Castle thing. There was the WrestleMania contest that was a triple threat. Sheamus was involved in that, and then Sheamus was the one that got that Clash of the Castle thing. So it's sort of been the three of these men dancing around each other for a while, but they've smartly kept the one-on-one between Gunther and Drew a bit on the back burner. It's almost time, in my mind, for Drew to heat things up a little bit, because he just hasn't had the same cachet about him since he lost the world championship. They've never really got him going again.
Right.
And I have a hard time rooting against Gunther because I think he's done a world of good elevating that Intercontinental title. Absolutely. I don't want to see him lose it, to be honest, but I'm thinking that on a card that might need some
title change.
Yeah. No.
Damn you.
You're supposed to go for Gunther.
I want to go for Walter. I really want to. I want to call him Walter still. But here's the thing. I mean, Drew's finally got his contract situation, solidified. He's back. I think a big thing for him, finally settling on something was knowing that there was a way forward for him, some sort of path, some sort of, end goal, even if it's short term. We're going to do this for you. We're going to do this for you. Here's what you're going to be doing now through the end of the year, kind of a thing. At least that much, maybe not all the way to WrestleMania next year, but at least, through the end of the year. And I think that path starts with a win of the over Gunther here and the title switch. And then I think Gunther has more, maybe Gunther gets in the title picture, the world heavyweight title picture a little bit down the line. Maybe it's a transition for both of them. You give Drew something to do with the Intercontinental title, and Gunther steps on up into maybe main event. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
I can't tell you the last time the Intercontinental title has meant as much as it does right now, and that is because of hard work. We're in agreement on this one, though. I see it going that same way too, and I would also be happy if we are both wrong, because I mean, there's nothing about Gunther and his run that hasn't been entertaining. I don't know where Drew would go after this, because I think that he kind of needs that win more than Gunther does. Gunther around that world title scene. And I mean, I don't care which show they end up putting him on. If it's Gunther Roman, Gunther Seth, I mean, I think those are fresh matchups that any fan would be a fool to not want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we can. Another thing we can agree on, that this will probably be the match that has the most whelps on bodies.
Yes.
I mean, these two will literally pound each other to raw meat, because that's what they do, which will make it a hard-hitting, entertaining contest.
Yep. It's another one of those that'll be great no matter who wins. And a lot of time I say that a lot on the show, but sometimes we are the total winners, and a lot of this card, we're just coming out winners left and right on this card.
There's a lot of great matches on this card. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
And without getting too tribal of like Team Gunther or Team Drew or Team anybody, as long as it's not Team Cody. Just enjoy the wrestling for what it is, because we're going to get a lot of great rides throughout the night.
Let's talk about the next ride we're going to go on, and I'm saving the last three to the
triple main event
order.
Yeah,
it's not the order they'll have them in, because I imagine they'll want to have some come downs, and they'll probably try to spread the bigger matches out. So I'm going to go for a match I don't think is going to be considered the top three, though it might go on closer to the end as a buffer.
Yeah,
and I mean no disrespect to the women involved here, but the SmackDown Women's Championship doesn't have the same amount of heat on it as the men's side of the bracket this time around. But doesn't mean it won't be a great match when you look at this on paper, because we have the SmackDown Women's Champion of Asuka defending against the Queen Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. All three of these ladies can go. Yeah, and it's SummerSlam, and it's a stadium, so the vibe will be big. These women will go big. This will be a great match. Doug, who do you see coming out with the title though by the end of it?
This one's hard too. You know, I look at these three ladies, and I think I think it's time for Charlotte again, because that's going to upset so much of the crowd, and we put that belt on Charlotte, and then Asuka doesn't necessarily go away, but Asuka drops back from the picture a bit. Whoa. Yeah, Charlotte for now. Depending on how this goes, maybe this spins off into a cash in too.
Nah, that's
Yeah,
where I was going to go with
yeah,
this, because I was going to say we finally disagree, because I'm not picking any of these three. One
yeah.
of them will get a pinfall,
Uh-huh.
and Io Sky is going to pick the bones. I think SummerSlam, again, big night. You want surprises in SummerSlam. I think that it would make a logical cash-in opportunity for Io Sky. And then as champion, she can move into a program where Bayley sits by her side trying to pretend to be happy for her for a little while before that goes the way that we all know that is going. But I believe that the victor at the end of the night, your SmackDown Women's Champion, is going to be Io Sky with that Money in the Bank cash in.
Or, oh, all right. I tell you what, we'll disagree on this one, because Io Sky tries to cash in on Charlotte after Charlotte gets a pinfall. Bayley calls her that cash in, and then that starts the Io Sky Bayley program. There's some armchair booking on the spot, just so we have a disagreement.
Okay, we got a disagreement.
Right.
But I guess a semi-agreement in the fact that we both concur Asuka will not be your SmackDown Women's Champion come Raw.
Agreed. Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way. It was nice to see her back in a title role, something I honestly for a while didn't think was in the cards for Asuka anymore. So I do appreciate that. I just don't know that long-term WWE sees her at this stage in her career at that position. I agree that whichever way it goes, I don't see her walking out champion one way or the other.
Yeah.
Let's get to the big ones here, Doug.
Let's do it.
I again think that this could very well even be an opener if they want to open with one of the main events. But Doug's favorite wrestler, Cody Rhodes, will be taking on Brock Lesnar.
The Beast. So here's the thing, man. Cody needs to slay some of his own demons, and Cody needs a good story, and Cody needs to prove that he has done things and he is actually capable of. And this plays my card and shows all of my hand for later on in the night. But Cody needs some things to build. I'll say it like this. He needs some things to build towards his WrestleMania 40 to finish his story, right? And he needs some check marks along the way. Brock Lesnar is one of those check marks that legitimizes Cody, even though he has a lot of love from a lot of fans. You know, I think there's they need to legitimize him and continue to be able to say in this arena, in the WWE, Cody has done this, Cody has done this, Cody has done this, which eventually leads to his triumphant WrestleMania 40 win. So I'm saying Cody.
Well, I mean, you are the Cody Mark, so of course you would say Cody.
Almost wore my Cody shirt tonight.
It is Brock Lesnar who, for the right person, doesn't care to lay down. Brock Lesnar is always going to be Brock Lesnar. Loses nothing by taking those pinfalls. He goes back to his ranch in Montana and comes back 6 months later and everyone's forgotten about it. This is the blow-off match, if you want to look at it that way. They're currently tied 1-1, and this in a series of 3 is the tiebreaker, and it's SummerSlam. It is the continuation of Cody's story, not Brock's story. So Cody's got to win this one.
Yeah,
and I think it'll be an entertaining contest because Lesnar has, in his previous 2 matches with Cody, seemed to have enjoyed himself, and when Brock's having a good time, the chances for a good performance are greatly increased.
Absolutely. I mean, when Brock's into it, just like we were talking about Rousey earlier, when they're into it, they really deliver. They can really turn in a great assignment. If they're not, it's kind of clear that both of these, and I don't know if it's just an MMA thing or what, but it's clear when they're not into it. They're just not.
They're just not. And maybe this is a bad transition to say one that I'm not into as much as I wish I was. The World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Love both of these guys. I even love the history that they brought back up that, it was Finn who was first the Universal Champion. Yeah, very short-lived until Seth injured him. Yet for some reason, this doesn't feel, at least to me, yet like there's no chance in the world that Finn Balor is dethroning Seth this early on in his World Heavyweight Championship range.
See, I have some different thoughts here, and I think this is where you were going to go with the women's triple threat, because Seth Rollins isn't walking out champion, but neither is Finn Balor. Finn Balor by the end of the night is also no longer in Judgment Day, because Judgment Day will interfere. Finn will get a pin, then Damian Priest will cash in with the help of Dirty Dom and even Rhea Ripley. They will take down Finn. Then all of the Judgment Day will have gold, and Finn will be out.
And Finn will be face.
I don't know if Finn will be a face. Maybe Finn goes away. I'm just sending everybody on vacations after SummerSlam. I don't know if Finn's a face or not, but he's gonna be out of Judgment Day. Eventually, he will probably swing back around to being a babyface.
I like the idea of Seth versus Damian. I think that Damian is a person who has shown to Triple H that I can carry the weight of a big feud. I mean, what he did at WrestleMania and what he did in Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny, what he's done with the Judgment Day, like he's someone with the size and agility that he has in combination. He would be a believable world champion someday. I don't think it'll happen here. I do think Seth goes over, but I am curious if you're calling for that Money in the Bank cash in. Do you think one happens at the expense of the other, or do you actually predict that we will have two Money in the Bank cash ins on the same night?
I'm going with two.
One successful and one not.
Yes, and because Io Sky are unsuccessful earlier in the night because of the intervention of Bayley, then you will see the entire Judgment Day. I'm going to say there's Judgment Day interference, which will cost Seth the match. Then an immediate almost celebration of Finn, who's been beat down by Seth so much. Then there's the cash in. The rest of Judgment Day then turns on Finn because he's the weak link now, and then Damian gets the pin. All of Judgment Day has gold, and then they just take him out, Bullet Club style. Like they just take him out, beat him down, send him away. And then maybe we see the OC, buddying up, and Finn is suddenly part of the OC. That would be fun. That would be super fun. But now I'm serious.
You've heard Doug call it. Two Money in the Bank cash-ins coming your way at SummerSlam. One successful, one not. He thinks Damian Priest is walking away World Heavyweight Champion. We'll see.
Yep, we will see.
That leaves us with one match, Doug, and that is the undisputed WWE Universal Intergalactic Milky Way Championship.
I love Milky Ways, man. That chewy troll nougat. Good stuff.
Roman Reigns, Doug, is taking on Jey Uso, and not just any match. No. That title's on the line, but also the head of the table's on the line. It will be tribal combat rules, which is kind of, I'm praying to goodness that we don't have like bunches of coconuts and I'm sorry, you just saw what they did with the Viking rules match.
I know.
Why couldn't we just have said anything goes or no rules? Why do we have to have it be tribal combat?
I know. Do they come out and do that more Maori? And I'm probably saying that wrong, with the Maori dance at the beginning to intimidate and that's how they do it too. It's like kind of like this. But do they do that at the beginning to like intimidate each other? And there's a lot of yelling and a lot of fire sticks. And I don't know.
I hope they
I'm
don't
curious.
lean too far into the tribal aspect of their
Mhm.
combat rules. I hope they have a no holds barred match.
I
But
mean, are the elders there to like judge a winner if it's deemed a tie? Uh, does The Rock show up?
I,
Yeah.
d- I do think that the way that they have sold it on TV as a tribal combat match, I believe we will get some family involvement. I do think that that's going to
Hmm.
be the aspect of why the family members are acting like it's a big deal, that they know what it means that we don't. And it
Yes.
probably is something along those lines of, you know, Afa and Sika and everyone's going to be here,
Hmm.
Wakanda style, like,
Yeah,
watching to see
absolutely.
who, is
Yeah,
our new leader kind of thing.
we've got the battle at Warrior Falls here.
Yeah.
Now, that
I
would
mean,
be cool.
I think if they do that, I take back my reservations, but I also know Vince McMahon and I saw the Viking match, and I just
Yeah.
do not want a bunch of Samoan related objects at ringside
Yeah,
for people to smash
very,
over each
very
other's head.
generic, stereotypical, like Pacific Islands garbage
Yeah.
at ringside.
I would hope that the men involved in this, and I do believe they do, have enough pull for what
Yes.
they've done to be allowed to tell this story the way that they're telling it, and they will not let that cheesiness creep in, because this has got to be about passion. This has got to be about brother defending his brother against his cousin. Like, there's so much at
Mhm.
play here that we don't need to cheapen it with a lot of gimmicks. I think this story is going to be well told. I do believe that Roman Reigns walks out with his red hot chili peppers.
I totally agree with you. I don't know how we get to that because so many bloodline Roman Reigns matches end with shenanigans. We're probably going to get shenanigans. Solo will try and do
Solo,
something.
definitely. Solo's
So,
definitely involved.
Solo say Jimmy will show up to save main event Jay from Solo intervention. Those two brothers will end up elsewhere in the ring or elsewhere in the arena. Maybe Paulie gets involved, takes a bump or two, but I think Roman will go over pretty clean, or as clean as this can be, to cement himself and continue to be the tribal chief. But I'm not really sure. Does this mean Jay falls in line then? Once how does this work then?
This is the only problem I have with picking Roman Reigns, because, and maybe we are just conditioned to say that Roman Reigns is going to be our winner at the end of the night because
Mm-hmm.
he has been for 3.5 years.
Sure.
But I don't know. I know what happens if Jay wins. I don't know what happens if Roman wins,
Yeah.
other than, is that the end? He falls in line and we move on like to the next opponent.
But
And
hasn't that sort of happened already though? We've seen that show, where Jay falls in line and we
yeah,
move on. So maybe the brothers are exiled, excommunicated from the bloodline.
it feels like it's got to be the end of the story, at least for now,
Yeah,
or we get surprised and they actually pull the trigger on Jay being the man that takes his cousin out as
man,
the only.
what a rub!
I
Wow.
mean, you talk about being a made man.
Yeah,
I don't think that'll happen. And again, we may at this point just be conditioned into thinking that Roman isn't going to lose. We at this point may be conditioned in buying into the rumors that Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania is in stone. Just because it's in stone doesn't mean that he's going to hold that title all the way up until the end. We just are booking that way because that's
yeah.
what makes sense to us. Roman doesn't lose the title until
So
Cody
true.
takes it away from him. There's a lot of time between now and next spring and WrestleMania. They could definitely throw us a curveball here. I just don't think they will.
I don't think they will. I mean, they could totally call an audible and have The Rock show up and tease claiming leadership of that, which then starts a almost Cena Rock year long kind of thing, weaving in and out of a year's worth of TV, knowing that that's coming to WrestleMania. I don't see that either. I mean, I'm just fantasy booking at this point, but I think that takes Cody out of the picture, and I still think that's Cody's story to slay that demon. But yeah, and I think it goes a long way when he slays Brock earlier in the night. I don't know how we get there. There's so much that could happen, but yeah, Roman walks away winner. And
Roman walks away the winner.
I don't know what happens.
Chili peppers in hand.
Chili peppers around the neck. 14 belts Paul's carrying behind him, and he and Solo, leave. And are the Usos excommunicated from the Island of Relevancy at that point? Are they back in the bloodline? Or I don't know. I can't see it happening.
Let's see how it plays out. Let's see if WWE can surprise us.
That's what I was going to say. I really like not being able to go, here's how I see exactly how it's going to go. This is what's going to happen. I like being able not to do that. So
and even when we're predicting the predictable, and that is Roman Reigns retains yet again, we still have question marks as to how they do it and where it goes. So that's actually nice to know that even if the more obvious thing happens, it still has an element of mystery to what happens after that. That actually will keep us engaged. And that's probably what keeps fans from being tired of this reign. A lot of times championship reigns happen and change because, well, the fans have just grown tired of seeing this person on top the whole time.
Right.
There's still mystery you can have by having Roman retain, which Doug and I are both predicting is what's going to happen. So really, Doug, our only disagreements are around various Money in the Bank cash-ins that may or may not happen on this card. Even if that doesn't happen in either of those contests, I do believe that we can agree on the fact that these 7 or 8 matches on paper all look like they can deliver. There's not one match on here that I think is going to be a dud. There's not that, like bathroom break match. I think they have a really nice SummerSlam card here. It actually makes me think Detroit's not all that far away. I kind of wish I was there.
Right.
Should have gone.
Yeah.
But fans, let us know what you think.
What
just because we're in agreement doesn't mean that you think you're in agreement with us. We might be off the mark in your mind, and if so, we want to hear it. We'll be back next Sunday night, and we'll talk about what matches delivered and where we were wrong and where we were surprised. So you'll want to make sure you tune in after your Saturday SummerSlam to make sure that you get our recaps as well. But that should have you set up for a great card on SummerSlam weekend next weekend. Before we say goodnight, Doug, we got some finishes to talk about here. It's big finish time on the Two Bros Wrestling Show. If it's the first time joining us, this is where we give you the 1, 2, 3. We're going to start with the 1, and that's our botch of the week. Doug.
So because we, and I'm breaking the fourth wall here, but because this is a pre-tape.
What? That's live.
We're recording it live. So we are not to that day of the week, which I traditionally make my wrestling day, which I kind of catch up on all my wrestling. So here's my botch of the week. Something silly that happened on Dynamite. That silly thing that everybody hated on Dynamite. I did too, because it was just ridiculous. And that was my botch.
I can't disagree with you, because actually that's what I have. I don't know how you did it, since you broke the magician's code here. So my botch of the week did happen on Dynamite. Gravity. So the young luchador has a lot of promise and loads of talent, but AEW has to do a better job than it does sometimes introducing wrestlers and not just throwing them out there, presuming that the smart mark fans are a majority of the audience and know who everyone is based on what they've done elsewhere. I didn't know Gravity until I saw him on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And then here he is just, 4 or 5 days later on Dynamite, and without any build-up at all. And especially when you show up in a spacesuit and you're doing some weird slow walking on the moon thing, a little context would be nice. Instead of like your average fan going, who is this and what is he doing? Once once that part was over with, people could just see a guy that can clearly go. But AEW does this a lot, where they just presume someone's background elsewhere, and not everyone is sitting around on
watching 26
YouTube and Facebook. Yeah.
Yes.
Watching us or talking about this.
26 hours of wrestling a week.
Absolutely. Doug, should I ask who your performance of the week?
Those two dudes, both of them in that match on Collision, because come on, how could you not? Right? Exactly.
Okay, now we're disagreeing again, Doug. I know your true performance of the week. What you meant to say is my performer of the week, Cody Rhodes. So Cody does the passionate babyface promo just as well as anyone in wrestling today. It can't be overestimated how hard that is to do with the modern wrestling audience. You can get that genuine emotion going. On occasion, it's hard week after week to have it feel sincere. But this week on Raw, Cody landed every aspect of his promo. And I don't mean just responding to Brock, but recalling his father's fireball to the face from Terry Funk, his mother partying with the legendary Gordon Solie. Getting a Gordon Solie reference on national television in 2023, right, that alone would have been enough to get me to call this out as my performance of the week. But that promo was all that and more as well. And plus, I saw it as an opportunity to rub it in Doug's face.
Fair enough. Are you getting a check from Brandy for that? Is she sending you something?
After you got us docked with all of your, trash talk last week.
I mean, we still balanced out. I mean, the check had the appropriate amount of zeros after it.
Doug, I know you already named the Collision match as your performance of the week. So what is your actual match of the week?
Of course, the top guys, and Cole and MJF. I'm presuming anyway that it's going to be awesome. It's going to go long. It's going to be great. And Collision. So there we go.
Actually, I would be hard pressed now that you've let our little secret out that we pre-taped this episode. That probably will end up being the match of the week. I don't see how it could not. For what I have actually seen already, I'm going to. Here, I kind of threw a little mud your way on performer of the week based on your last week's comments. I'm going to throw some at myself now, because even though I stand by what I said last week and thinking that WWE had overvalued Zoe Starks, Zoe Starks went out and had the match of the week thus far. And I still do believe that we need to see more charisma to round out her character. However, she was intent, I think, after seeing our show last week, on showing me that I was mistaken.
And apparently Cody was too, after hearing my comments.
At least we know they're watching, Doug, is what I'm saying here.
They're watching.
Definitely watching. But yeah, Zoe had a match on Raw against Becky Lynch, and obviously Becky Lynch can make anyone look good, but Zoe definitely looked the part. And as far as her in-ring work goes, I never questioned it, but it was probably the best Zoe Starks match I had seen, even knowing that she was already talented. So, hey, I am be happy to end up being proven wrong based on my last week's comments, and this is a great way of start by saying match of the week is definitely Zoe Starks versus Becky Lynch, in my opinion, until the match that happened yesterday that we all know that we're all talking about today. But that goes without saying, which is why I don't have to mention it.
Right. Yeah. So, and I already mentioned it. So, it spreads the love out a little bit when we're not in lockstep with these things. So I think that all works out.
Spreading the love is what we do here on the Two Bros.Wrestling Show.
Unless your name is Cody Rhodes, but
we are going to spread more of that love next Sunday at 8 o'clock. We'll be back here live. You see our upcoming schedule. We got a lot on tap. Obviously, we're talking SummerSlam. And then the week after that.
What are we doing the week after that?
We're calling out CM Punk on his lies.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's all savor that opportunity. And we'll hope that you tune in. Enjoy NXT. If you're watching them after us tonight, have a great American Bash. Enjoy SummerSlam. It is going to be a great week of wrestling.
Yep. So much wrestling. Top guys out.
There we go. See you, fans.
Go watch